Ever wonder why you struggle with discipline and consistency? Ever wonder why you struggle to stick to obedience, although you have the desire in your spirit? You know it's your season to make some significant changes in the way you do things, in your health, in your finances, in your relationship. Why is obedience so hard? Here's my theory. The thing that makes obedience so difficult is how unfamiliar it is, which means the thing that makes disobedience so easy is how familiar it is. Let me give you an example. I remember several years ago, I was in a relationship and I knew I had a gut feeling about whether or not this was the right relationship to be in. And I was in this relationship and I remember we were less than a year into this relationship. And I remember feeling like maybe I should take this to God, right? Now, forgive me in my spiritual immaturity at this time, right? We should ideally take things to God first, but I was a little late to the game and I was like, let me take this to God. And so I remember it was maybe on a Wednesday. I dropped to my knees and I said a prayer. I said, God, if this relationship is for me, please open the door in such a way that I cannot be closed. And if this relationship is not for me, please close the door in such a way that it cannot be open. And would you know, because God answers prayers quickly, that 2 days later, that relationship ended. 2 days later. But like a lot of relationships do, it turns out that this will be the first of several breakups before it ended for good. But when this relationship ended, I was very pleased. I was like, wow, God, you answer prayers quickly. Like, wow, that was dope, right? And then 2 weeks later, they came calling me back and I accepted their invitation to come back. Now, I said that just 2 weeks earlier, I had prayed for the answer on whether or not I should continue in this relationship. I got the answer. But when the temptation arrived for me to go back, I fell to temptation. And it was partly because of how familiar it was. See, I've been through several, as many people have, I've been through several iterations of relationships and versions of myself and life over the past several years, and I've learned a lot of lessons. And one thing I know about obedience is that it becomes easier the more you do it. The more you surrender, the more it becomes easy to surrender. However, when you make a habit out of yo-yoing with your obedience, you also make a habit out of believing that it's safe to be disobedient because disobedience feels safe, right? Familiar relationships feel safe, right? It feels like I don't know what else is out there, but this I know. Right? Being in a body that's not optimal, but that you're familiar with feels safe. Believe it or not, for some people, not having a lot of money is easier than having money and having more than enough. It's just something about it that feels safe. And that familiarity can sometimes cause us to compromise our own obedience. So today I want to talk about what foster care and living in Rome have taught me about obedience. Now, that might sound like two very night and day experiences, but as I was reflecting this week and thinking about what I wanted to share with you guys, these two experiences bubbled to the top, came top of mind, and they taught me some of the biggest lessons about obedience. So if you struggle with consistency, with discipline, especially when it comes to being obedient to what God is telling you to do. It could be in your health, it could be in your finances, it can be in your relationship. If you're struggling with doing what you know God is telling you to do and you're questioning yourself, you're like, now I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I know I'm supposed to be working diligently on my health in this season. I know I'm supposed to be working diligently on my finances in this season. I know I'm supposed to be working diligently on my role as a leader in this season. Why am I not being consistent in the practices and the habits and the behaviors that will land me on that assignment. I think I have a theory for you guys this morning. Welcome back to Monday Morning Keynote with yours truly, Coach Lisa, founder of Clarity, where stress meets strategy. I'm so excited to be back here with you. Before we move forward, YouTube, you know how we do here. Let me know what you're sipping on in the chat. Do you have your emotional support tea? We're currently doing our 30-day vegan, salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge, because in order to help people combat chronic stress and overwhelm and burnout, we have to optimize their health first, right? So optimizing your health is our first step in optimizing your life and eliminating chronic stress. And just yesterday in our community, in our challenge community, shout out to Sandy. I don't know if Sandy is on this morning on YouTube, but Sandy posted in our community her emotional support tea. She said, my emotional support mug arrived today. So I'm so excited. So Sandy, if you're listening, if you're watching, I hope you have your emotional support tea. I'm sipping on this wonderful blend that I had last week, which is mint, and then it's mixed with a blood orange. So I got me a herbal blend this morning. That's what I'm sipping on. What's up, Tamika? Tamika said freshly made green juice. Hey, good morning, Lachey. Rhonda said water and lime. Y'all sipping good. Okay. Hydrating. Listen, last Saturday inside of our 30-day vegan challenge, we had a cooking demo with our Chef Brandy. And she was making this rice noodle dish, and she was telling us that you don't have to boil rice noodles. You just put them in a bowl of hot water. And she said that helps them to reconstitute. You got to reconstitute the noodles, right? And she was like, that's just a fancy way of saying rehydrate the noodles. So we reconstituting this morning, because when we learn big words, y'all, we got to use them so we can get them into our vocabulary and impress the people that don't know no better. Okay, so who's reconstituting this morning? Who's rehydrating? Y'all know we got to hydrate every day. Water don't roll over like minutes, honey. I don't care how much you drunk yesterday. You got to start all over today. Okay? You got to start all over today. Shout out to Stacy. She says she's drinking tea, lime with ginger and cinnamon. Okay, I bet that smells amazing. Ginger and cinnamon? Stacy, what's that aroma doing? Shout out to Quintella. She says she has my emotional support tea mug arrived on Saturday. Hey, I'm drinking hot water and lime. I love it. Claire says apple cider turmeric drink. Okay. Y'all, Lord, when you start a health coaching business, you know you got some like-minded people in the audience, okay? Apple cider and turmeric. You see what I'm saying? What's up, Instagram? Be Balloon by Nick says, by Nikki D. Sorry about that, Nikki D. I am new here, but I'm sipping on hot water. But your tea sounds amazing. Thank you. Okay, we sipping good. Okay, we ready to get into the message then. Lemon ginger, I love it. Okay, well, let me take my sip, because sometimes I get to going and then it cool off and then I miss the sweet spot. Y'all know that sweet spot when your tea cool off just right? Like just right? And you like, oh, this is it. God, just hold this moment a little longer for me, right? I don't want to miss that sweet spot. Okay, so let's get into it. Oh, we got a question came in before we get into our message. Where do we get recipes that are no SOS? Well, Dr. Denise, if you're in our challenge, then we have several recipe books that we give our students, vegan, whole food, plant-based, no salt, oil, and sugar recipes. And so we can drop the link here for you if you want to join the challenge. It's free to join. It's not too late. And we would love to have you. So Kiwi, if we can drop the link to the challenge here in the comments and on YouTube, and then we can get Dr. Denise some recipes. Okay, Dr. Denise, thanks. All right, beautiful. So listen, what foster care and living in Rome taught me about obedience. So during my years, during my years coming fresh out of college, I had to remember what time period this was in. So coming fresh out of college, I graduated from the University of Michigan. So when I was born and raised in Detroit, and when I graduated from high school, Cass Tech High School, we were figuring out what school I was going to go to, and I'm a academic, meaning I'm very like IQ is my superpower, and so I got a scholarship. And I got a scholarship to go to Central Michigan University. But then After 1 year, my mom, worked to get my scholarship transfer, and I ended up going to U of M, right? So I graduated with my undergraduate degree from University of Michigan. But while I was at University of Michigan, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure what I wanted my career to be. I didn't even know what I wanted to major in while I was at U of M. And so I just followed in the footsteps of my best friend at the time. So my best friend Tiffany at the time, she she was majoring in social work. And so I was like, okay, I'll major in social work too. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that going to college was the next step, right? That's the system, right? And so I was like, okay, I'll major in social work. So my first adult job out of college was as a social worker, and I worked in foster care. And as a foster care worker for Oakland County in the state of Michigan, I was responsible for helping biological parents reunite with their biological children, and after Child Protective Services took them out the home for some reason, right? So Child Protective Services would get notified that maybe something was going on in the home. It could be everything from educational neglect to cleanliness to nutritional, neglect, sexual abuse, just a plethora of things that unfortunately happens to our babies across the country. And so when Child Protective Services would take the kids out of the home, me as the foster care worker, I was responsible for now working with the biological parents and working with the foster parents or the facility that the child was placed in to help reunite the family. The goal was to reunite the family. And I had to work with the court system. So I was working with all these different players at one time, right? The court, the biological family, the foster families, working with everybody at one time. And I had to really work to try and make sure the kids got what they needed while they were in our care, and to make sure the families got what they needed to ensure they were ideally able to get their children back. And I've heard some terrible, terrible stories. I've witnessed some terrible, terrible things working in, child welfare. And it really is honorable work. Social work is such honorable work. And there's some things that stuck with me. Like, there's some things I never forgot. There's some kids I never forgot. As a matter of fact, I remember a couple years ago, one of my former foster kids finding me on Instagram, and she reached out to me and she was like, Lisa. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it was such a big deal. And because she was a teenager, she was well, not teenager, but young, older than the average foster kid. And when I was working with her in Michigan. And so, this was a really imperative period in my career developing me, working in child welfare. But one of the things that I never forgot, and I recently wrote about this in my book about radical obedience, one of the things that stuck with me was that it didn't matter how dysfunctional, unkept, dangerous the house was that we took the kid out of. The kid always wanted to go back. You would think, because we as adults with our developed minds and our developed ideas and our moral codes, we know what's good and bad. We know the difference between good and bad. We know the difference between safe and unsafe. We know the difference between clean and unclean. We know the difference. But as a young person, and this is all they've ever known, that's all they know. Therefore, they don't have anything else to compare it to. So if all they've ever known is that we eat cereal with water for breakfast, if all they've ever known is, my sibling or my parent or my grandparent touches me at night, if all they've ever known is I don't go to school or I don't go to school that often, right? It's not out of the ordinary for them. And so what will happen is that when we will take the kid out of the home, so Child Protective Services will have the first point of contact with a kid. And then their case would eventually get assigned to somebody like me as a foster care worker. And I would have to come in and I would have to start developing a rapport with the child and a rapport with the family. And when I get to talking to them and how they're feeling and what they're going through and what they're experiencing and trying to set their expectations for what's going to happen next, inevitably, every child wanted to go back. They wanted to go back. It doesn't matter that they used to watch their mom getting hit by another adult in the home. They wanted to go back, right? And it will be baffling for us as adults, but now we understand that that's the home they've always known. Their family pet is there and their stuffed animals are there. And when they were there, at least they were together with their siblings. When they got taken, maybe they got separated from their siblings, and everything that they've ever known was there, right? And so while we try to do our best to console them and soothe them and make them feel safe and help them to understand that you're actually safer now, that never quite landed. Maybe if the kid was older, much older, but the younger ones always wanted to go back. It didn't matter that the house didn't have hot water or heat. They wanted to go back. They wanted to go back, right? And they wanted to go back because it was familiar. They wanted to go back because it was familiar. And when we are taking out of situations that are familiar, for a lot of us, is culture shock. Being on the other side of what's familiar is culture shock. We don't know anything about this. We've never had this experience before. We don't have a frame of reference for this. I want to go back to what I know. Yes, maybe the sheets hadn't been washed in months. Maybe there was little to no food in the refrigerator. Maybe I wasn't learning and being forced to go to school like I'm supposed to at this young age, but it is familiar. I want my sheets with the trucks on them. I want my stuffed animals that I'm used to seeing in the corner. I miss the noise that used to be in the house all the time. I'm not familiar with all of this silence. We would call it peace. To them, the silence is deafening, right? No matter the status of the home, no matter the status of the they wanted to go back. They wanted to go back. No matter the promise that you're going to get clean clothes and fresh food and hot water, and you don't have to worry about anybody putting their hands down your pants at night. They wanted to go back. They always wanted to go back. And what that taught me later on as I processed my experiences as a foster care worker and as a social worker over the years, and I became a coach. And now I'm 10 years, our coaching company is 10 years old. So I'm 10 years into coaching, and I'm comparing foster children to our adult clients in clarity. I'm comparing foster children to our adult clients who are trying to lose weight, to our adult clients who are trying to combat chronic stress, to our adult clients who say they want freedom, who say they want autonomy, who say they want financial, who say they want optimal health. I'm comparing our adult clients who say they want their own business, who say they want unrequited love, who say they want certain things. And I'm comparing them to foster children because that's my frame of reference. That's my historical background in my career. And let me tell you something. Adults, we are no different. We are no different. It doesn't matter how many master classes I teach about the detriments and the risk of ultra processed food. It doesn't matter how many speaking engagements I do, how many stages I stand on talking about how deadly chronic stress is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much I show you my before picture when I was 60 pounds overweight. It doesn't matter how many stories I tell you about being in a long-term relationship that was not mutually beneficial, or working a 9 to 5 that wasn't aligned with my gifts, or suffering from abandonment issues because my biological father left. It doesn't matter how many times I tell that story. It doesn't matter how many times I show my before picture, like when I was not happy and confident in my body, and how I show you now how when I am happy and confident in my body. It doesn't matter how much I tell you how much better it can be, how much more freedom there is on this side if you just eat like you got some sense consistently. Inevitably, grown adults always want to go back, just like foster children. But I like I can so I can't have my coffee, but I want my sugar and my dairy. But I'm like, it inflamed you. I'm like, you don't remember when you used to drink that every morning and you had gut issues? You don't remember every time you would eat that meat? You don't remember your hormonal imbalance? Like, you don't remember? Like okay, let me get this straight. You don't remember all the times you tried to fix that relationship. You proposed therapy, and you even worked on yourself, and you try all these different approaches. Like, you don't remember that. You don't remember how it fell on deaf ears. You don't remember how they still disrespected you. You don't remember how your needs and desires were not considered in the relationship. No matter how much we remind adults of that, no matter how much we show them the results of them being disobedient, they always want to go back. Would you believe we do this 30-day vegan, salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge? And people will be 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 1 week, 2 weeks into feeling better. And they still want to know, well, when can I eat sugar again? I'm like, wait a minute, I done did something wrong. Thank God for my experience in foster care, because as a coach, as a speaker, I used to beat myself up thinking something was wrong with me. I'm like, okay, let me go back to the lab for the 100th time and restructure my delivery, because maybe I'm saying it wrong. Like, maybe I'm articulating the value of doing it this way wrong. Maybe it's something wrong with my message. Maybe it's something wrong with my curriculum. Let me get a new team. Let me write a new program, because they're not getting it. Why do they still want to go back? Just like the foster kids. It doesn't matter how bad. Like, let me get this straight. We just did all this work for you to lose the weight. You complain endlessly about you not having confidence every time you looked in the mirror. You complain endlessly about how your inability to say no to people kept you overwhelmed, overextended, stressed out, and people pleasing. And when I teach you a strategy on how not to do that, when I help you test a new strategy and it works in your favor, you mean to tell me you're still willing to go back to saying yes, just so that people will like you, just so you can stand up, because you're afraid of being single, because you're afraid of being friendless. Let me get this straight. When I teach you how to activate radical obedience so that you always have favor from God and that you never have anything to worry about, you mean to tell me you're still not willing to create an exit strategy from the 9 to 5 that you say has been stressing you to the end of the earth? The thing that makes obedience so hard, listen to me closely, y'all. The thing that makes obedience so challenging for us, despite how dysfunctional the situation is that we're coming from, is that it is unfamiliar. And when things are unfamiliar, no matter how much better it is for you, no matter how much better a plant-based diet is for you, no matter how much better saying no is for you, when it's unfamiliar, we go back. If we are not strong enough, if we have not put enough safeguards in place, if we haven't secured a coach in a community, if we haven't made sure that we drew boundaries and lines in the sand, we always go back. And little old me, when I left foster care, I'm like, Oh, that was a child problem. Those are the decisions that somebody makes when they think like a child. Turns out, when I got over here into coaching adults, we think the same way. We're like, I know, like Lisa, what you're saying to me makes so much sense, but I want to feel something familiar. I know I felt horrible. The coffee kept me constipated, or the sugar kept me inflamed, or the people pleasing kept my desires buried, but I don't know how not to do that. It's just so familiar. It's just so familiar. So in our mastermind at Clarity, somebody said, "Sip, hold on. Oh, y'all, we almost at that sweet spot. Wait a minute, wait for it now. Won't he will? Listen, in our mastermind in Clarity, we meet with our mastermind members a couple times a month. And during our last mastermind meeting here at Clarity, it was our first mastermind meeting in 2026. And so I did an evaluation with them, and I asked them a series of questions to evaluate their 2025, right? And, one of the questions, I asked about is just kind of like what went well, like what worked out for you, like what are you proud of from 2025? Like, let's reflect on the things that went right. You know what I'm saying? And so as we were reflecting on the things that went right, I was kind of sharing my answers as well. I was kind of sharing with them the things that I was proud of as well. And one of the things I talked about is leadership. I talked about how proud I am of how intentional I was about my leadership in 2025, right? And from a leadership perspective, though, I have to say this from a leadership perspective, sometimes when you're used to being in charge and you're used to doing everything and you have the know how and you know how all the things work and how all the pieces move in your business, sometimes, depending on what type of individual you are, it can be very challenging to delegate. And one of the responsibilities of a leader is delegation, right? So when I was talking to our mastermind about what I was proud of from 2025, I talked about my leadership skills and I talked about my intentionality on being more serious about delegation, right? And being an entrepreneur for a decade, even though I've had people work for me over the years, I've never really put a whole lot of effort and energy into building a team and into building a team that I intentionally trained, that I intentionally groomed, that I intentionally handed like full on responsibilities over to and completely taken my hands off of it. Like I've never done that. Like I've given responsibilities, but I always had a pause on things. And as we all should as leaders in our business, but I always was right there just in case I needed to step in, take over, do it anyway, whatever it may be, right? And so, but now in the second half of this year, 2026, I'm moving into a season. Where 100% delegation is going to be required. And from a leadership perspective, someone who's been in business this long, who's been doing mostly everything, even with help, but still kind of helping the help, if y'all know what I'm saying. My leaders who have a hard time, my individuals who have a hard time letting completely go of things, you can relate to this, whether it's you do this as a parent, whether you do this as a spouse, whether you do this as a 9-to-5er, or whether you do it as an entrepreneur. There's a group of us, there's a population of us that have a hard time with fully letting go of things and fully handing some things over to other people, right? And I will be the first to admit that was me as a leader. Like I like our clients, I like our people, our community to have a really great experience. And sometimes, right, I have struggled sometimes with believing that other people can deliver the experience the same way. And so I like for people to feel seen, heard, respected in our ecosystem. I like for people to know that they can trust us. And, sometimes delegation has been challenging for me. And so, but one of the things I had to really reconcile is how necessary it is as I go on to do bigger things, as I go on to do other things. And so now that I'm in a season where full on delegation is no longer optional, it's no longer a nice to have, it is a must have. I'm having to surrender. I'm having to be radically obedient in my leadership and with delegation. And I'll tell you guys, literally just last week, I had a relapse. I did. Just last week, I had a just last week, I told somebody on team, don't worry about it, I'll do it. I'll do it. Just forget it. I'll do it. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. Right. And I had a relapse. And because doing it myself, here's the lesson, is familiar. It's familiar. So radical obedience is saying in this season for Lisa, you have to delegate. You have to delegate completely. My issue is I've been delegating for years, but not like 100%, right? But radical obedience is calling for me to delegate 100% in this season, some things. And I had a relapse just last week. But the thing that is because it's just so familiar, it's just so easy to go back to doing it myself. It's the simplest way in my mind that things will get done correctly, right? Or timely, or mistakes won't be made, right? And I'm learning this lesson with you guys. Like I'm putting this into practice with you guys. We have to understand that obedience requires you, is going to require you to move through the unfamiliar. And so if you're like me and delegation is unfamiliar, complete surrender of tasks and responsibilities to other people is unfamiliar, then you're going to have to get used to unfamiliar, or you're going to have to get used to the consequences of disobedience. You're going to have to get used to the consequences of disobedience. And and here's the thing, like it's not a secret how much familiarity feels good to us, how comforting it is. So let me tell you, I used to live in Rome, and I was just watching a show last night that reminded me of this. So I used to live in Rome, and when I lived in Rome, I worked at the United States Embassy. And you wouldn't know this if you've never worked abroad as like an expat or a delegate or something for a country. But I worked at the United States Embassy in the city of Rome, Italy. And in the embassy, y'all, they have like a canteen. They have like a store, right? Now, here's what we know to be true. It is no secret that the food in the United States is risky AF, right? It is no secret that there are chemicals and preservatives and things that are allowed in our food that are not allowed in other countries. It is no secret. We all know that we should be eating cleaner and healthier and all of these things, right? And so we know that it's better to eat fresh food. We know it's better to eat homemade food. We know it's better to avoid things that are ultra processed, packaged with a lot of food dyes and colorants and all of those things, right? But even with knowing that, there is a store inside of the United States Embassy in Rome for all of the Americans that are working in Italy. They can go to the United States Embassy and they can go to the canteen, which is on the lower level of the United States Embassy in Rome. And there is a store dedicated to all of our familiar products that we get here in the United States. But it's interesting that none of the familiar products are healthy. The food stuff, it's all junk. You're going to get your Doritos, you're going to get your Cheetos, you're going to get your soda, you're going to get Twinkies, you're going to get all of this junk food. There's a canteen inside of the embassy that caters to familiarity. People want, even knowing that none of this stuff is good for me, you might not have even eaten that stuff when you were back home, but it's something about seeing it while you're in Rome that is comforting. This is how psychological familiarity is. This is how dangerous familiarity is, because we see the stuff that's no good for us. We see the stuff that causes disease. We see the stuff that causes inflammation. But because we're living outside of our comfort zone. We're already living in the country that's unfamiliar. So to be able to see snacks and junk food that causes disease, that has carcinogens in it, that cause cancer, it feels good. It's not like, whoa, 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 I don't want to see that stuff. It's not like, no, 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 no. I ain't eat that stuff. You like, oh, Twinkies. You like, feels like home. Like, what? Like, how does this processed crap make you feel so good? And so I just said all of that to say that it's not that you want to go back to dysfunction. It's not that you want to go back to disease. Like when you set out on a goal to lose weight or get off the medications or eliminate chronic stress or to free yourself from toxic relationships, like I'm not mad at y'all. That's what I came to say. Like I get, like, we get mad at people like, why you keep going over there and you know they treat you like crap? Like, why you keep doing that and you know you gonna be broke? Like, why you keep doing that and you know that flares you up? Like, why you keep doing that and you know that's gonna make your chest hurt? You know that's gonna make your hair hurt? You know that's gonna increase your cramps that time of the month. Like, why you keep doing that? It's not that you want to go back to dysfunction. It's not that you want to go back to disease. It's not that you want to go back to debt. It's not that you want to go back to your hyper independence. You are trying to go back to what's familiar, right? But doing something long enough for it to become familiar is how you go from average to great. So I'm telling you guys, working in foster care and living in Rome taught me that it doesn't matter how dysfunctional a previous circumstance was. Familiarity has a bigger hold on us than we think. And if we're not careful, we'll risk our favor, because radical obedience gives you favor. We'll risk our favor for the sake of familiar. Don't do that. If you on a health journey right now and you know you burnt out, overextended, overwhelmed, you know you've been saying yes to too much, or you know you've been taking on too much, or you know your faith muscle was weak, so you worry too much. Like, trust me when I tell you, like, stop succumbing. Stop succumbing. Stop succumbing to the disobedience will compromise all of your favor. Favor comes with surrender, y'all. You know you're supposed to be writing a book, but you keep on letting the fact that you're afraid to be seen and heard. You keep on letting the fact that you're worried about what other people will think, or you're worried about being judged. You keep letting that delay the assignment. And I'm telling you, it's not just delaying the assignment. It's not just about the book. It's not just about the program. It's not just about the course. It's not just about the business. It's about favor. Because with obedience comes favor. And so stop letting the temptation of familiar draw you back into dysfunction, which compromises your favor. Does that make sense on today, y'all? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes, because we keep on starting stuff and stopping. We keep on starting stuff and quitting. We keep on starting stuff and giving up. And I'm not mad at you, because you don't want to be in a dysfunctional relationship. You just want familiarity. And sometimes it's not even that you want familiarity, it's that you're just trying to avoid unfamiliar. It's like, I don't even want this, coach. I just don't want to be in the unknown. And I'm telling you, the unknown is where you go from good to great. The unknown is where you go from average to excellent. And I'm telling you guys, you're gonna spend another year overweight. You're going to spend another year in massive debt. You're going to spend another year on a medication. You're going to spend another year at a 9 to 5 where you're miserable. You're going to spend another year in a relationship where there's no reciprocity because you're so busy trying to hold on to the familiar. So if you didn't take anything else from this, just know to activate radical obedience. For those who don't know, because I haven't defined it today, Radical obedience is doing what you're being called to do in this season of life, despite the presence of fear and uncertainty. If you are unwilling to do what you're being called to do, despite the presence of fear and uncertainty, you are compromising your favor. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Y'all give me y'all takeaways as I wrap up and get up out of here. Give me y'all takeaways. I see some great comments on YouTube. I was talking to somebody. RJ Plaza 48 said, "Glory, you speaking to me right now. Get the assignments done." Yes. Obedience is going to require you to move with low visibility. Unfamiliarity means you have low visibility. And if you take unfamiliarity as, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's something wrong with not knowing, it's something wrong with not being perfect, it's something wrong with not being good yet. Like if you're labeling not being good yet as a weakness, then you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle with obedience. You're going to struggle. Like a plant-based lifestyle is unfamiliar. Not having salt, oil, and sugar is unfamiliar. So you're going to let me get this straight. You're going to let unfamiliar compromise your health for another year? Forget it. I just start over when Lisa do the challenge again next year. You're going to let unfamiliar compromise your health for another year? That's crazy. It's not that it's hard to not eat refined sugar. It's not that it's hard to cook without oil. It's just unfamiliar. Just call it what it is. It's not hard, it's unfamiliar. And if unfamiliar keep on having this much power over you, you're going to spend another year doing what you've always done, looking how you always look, feeling how you've always felt. And if that's not what you want, you're in trouble. Okay? You're in trouble. Give me some takeaways, y'all, before I hop up off of here. Hey, we done passed the sweet spot, y'all. It's cooling off. Lachey says it makes sense. Earlier, Naila said, "Stop cussing at me." And I'd be trying to watch my language, Naila. That's why I be telling y'all to bring y'all emotional support tea. Listen. Oh, man, Stacy. Stacy said, "So true. My mother was a foster care parent. We could not understand. It is built in." Yes. They always want to go back. Like, I get that you're trying to shower me with love and safety and security, but I want my mama. Yeah, she used to hit me. Yeah, but I want my mama. You know what I mean? And it's so important to recognize that that's not just a foster care thing. It's not just a foster kid thing. It's an adult thing. Because if you stop and look at your own behavior, you'll recognize you're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. I'm like, yo, but eating plants or taking a chance on yourself and putting yourself out there. This is the freedom you're looking for. Yeah, but I want to go back over there. I miss doing that over there. I'm like, Lord, the foster kids done grew up. We all foster adults at this point because ain't nobody learning the lesson. Late Bloomer 391, what's up, lady? On Instagram says, we're willing to risk our favor for familiarity. Absolutely. Thank you for that takeaway. Natural Length says it's unfamiliar and it takes commitment to change some things. And happy Monday. Happy Monday to you too, honey. I love it. Give me some more takeaways, y'all. Oh, thank you. RJ Plaza 48 says, "Love you, beautiful." And I have shared and I continue to share because so many people need this information. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that so much. I know my reach is what it is because of you guys. Like, there's no way I can reach as many people as we do without you guys sharing. So I appreciate that so much. Let's get some more takeaways. We got one that just came through on IG. Fall forward. New things will feel uncomfortable until we step in and find God. Open the door to blessings. Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. Fall forward. I love that. Claire says, "Being comfortable with familiar that is no longer serving you will impede your blessings." It will. It's so much favor in unfamiliar, y'all. It's so much favor, especially the lessons that you learn. Let's do one more. Tamika says, "That familiar spirit will get us every time. We must do a new thing." Yes, we must do a new thing. So whatever new thing you committed to starting this year for, I know our challengers, it is eating differently for the sake of their health, mental, physical, and emotional health. Do the new thing. Push through the unfamiliar. You need recipes. You don't know how to cook. I'm hungry now. Why am I waking up with a headache? What's going on? Right? It's also unfamiliar, and that unfamiliarity just gets uncomfortable. And you like, I just want to feel how I felt, even though I didn't feel good. I knew how I felt, and I was used to it. And that's risky. That's risky. That's risky. That's risky. This is so good. Okay, so um, guys, if you are someone who needs some assistance with really moving through the unfamiliar, and you want someone to see your blind spots, I invite you to apply for private coaching with me. The application is pinned here in the comments on YouTube. I did our live last week when I taught that radical obedience was the antidote to chronic stress. Y'all remember last Monday? Yeah, we had a good time. And afterwards, somebody sent in the application, and she was like, yo, your YouTube live this morning about radical obedience and chronic stress was talking to me. That was me. That's my issue. I need help, right? And so I dare you to raise your hand if you recognize that I need help. I might know what my issue is. I might have a theory about what my problem is, but I actually need help in this season. So I dare you to take that chance on yourself, apply for private coaching with me. Let's talk through what the best next steps for you might be. Okay. It changes the game when you have someone who you trust listening to you from their point of view and giving you a perspective that you may have never thought of. Coaching is a powerful, powerful resource if you're willing to be coachable, right? If you're willing to listen, hear out, and not run back to the familiar at the first sign, at the first assignment that your coach gives you that's unfamiliar. And so if you know you need help, I would love to support you. I have 4 slots open for private coaching right now. And so click the link that's pinned in the comments here on YouTube to fill out that application. Instagram, the link is in my bio for private coaching, or you could just shoot me a DM and we'll get the application over to you if you need to be supported through the unfamiliar in this season. You're welcome, Wanda. Wanda says, thank you again for the gems. You're welcome. Oh, that's a good takeaway on YouTube. Kamarsha says, prioritize what's better for you rather than what's good for others. Bless you for your wisdom. Thank you. Yes, prioritize what's good for you. That's a tough sentence to implement, Kamarsha. Like, prioritize what's good for you rather than what's for others, honey. Because we out here trying to please people. We out here trying to make everybody happy. We out here trying to caretake the world. How many people is caretakers to the whole world? And not just your friends and family, but you just decided to be a caretaker to the whole doggone world. Compromises some things. So I hope this was useful and helpful. I love you guys. We'll be back here next Monday. For all of my people who are in the challenge, for all of my people who are in the 30-day vegan salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge. Did we drop the link earlier? I don't know that we did. Just in case someone needs it, because I mentioned earlier, let me just make sure it gets in the comments here. So let me drop the link for the challenge for anyone who would love to join us. It's not too late for you to get unfamiliar with your eating so that you can get the mental clarity that comes with this plant-based lifestyle, so we can make some decisions. So there it is on YouTube for those who for those who want it on Instagram, lisaangelsmith.com/challenge. That's available to you as well. Oh, thanks, Kiwi. Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. Late Bloomer 391 says, I second that. Private coaching. My hairline is in treatment. Gave me full authority to be audacious. Amen. Amen. My hairline is in treatment. I swear in my next season of business, we coming out with some edge control, because I don't know that there's one on the market that's as good that's needed for these Monday morning keynotes and for coaching and all the teaching. So love you guys. I'll see you guys next Monday, same time, 10 a.m. EST, back here with another Monday morning keynote. This has been yours truly, Lisa A. Smith, founder of Clarity, where stress meets strategy. Love y'all. Bye, y'all.